Folks, we just had a major bombshell in the gaming industry. Embracer Group has purchased pretty much the entirety of Square Enix's Western division. Let's talk about it. Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Bo Talks Media. Apologies for the late upload, or late night upload. However, some major news that just dropped from Embracer regarding another studio acquisition. I've done videos on the Microsoft Activision acquisition, the Sony Bungie acquisition, and now we're talking about another one, maybe a little bit more low-key than those. However, well, actually, no. This is definitely not as low-key as Bungie. I mean, Bungie was still huge for Sony. This is not as low-key as that. This is a pretty massive thing, and I want to talk about what I think this means. I'm not an analyst. I'm not an expert on a lot of the subjects, but it's still fun to talk about and see kind of and predict what this means for the future of the gaming industry. So, if you don't know, Embracer. So, Embracer is basically this big conglomerate company that has a ton of studios. They've been scooping up developers left and right. They own Asmodee Digital, Coffee Stain Holding, Dark Horse Media, Deca Games, Gearbox, Coach Media? I might have said that wrong. Saber Interactive, and of course THQ Nordic. So they have a ton of developers under their belt. I think they have Aspire right now. They're doing the Star Wars games at the moment, like the remakes of old ones. Embracer has a ton of kind of staying power in the industry right now. Over the past few years, they've been buying a bunch of smaller studios. This is definitely the biggest acquisition that they have done by far in terms of what this means for them as a company. So I'm just, laying in bed watching my X-Men Days of Future Past, because I'm binging all those before Doctor Strange comes out, and I go on Twitter and see that they have acquired specifically the Western division, essentially, of Square Enix. Square Enix, of course, famed developer and publisher of Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, that Avengers game, Guardians of the Galaxy. They acquired the Western division, which is really interesting, especially considering that division hasn't been doing so hot recently. So let's read through a little bit of this quick blurb. The Embracer website is down right now. I guess they've just been getting hammered because people are trying to see what's going on here. But let's read a little bit of this. Embracer Group enters into an agreement to acquire Eidos, Crystal Dynamics, and Square Enix Montreal, amongst other assets. Embracer Group has entered into an agreement, yada, 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 to acquire all those studios and a catalog of IPs, including, most notably, Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, Legacy of Kain, and more than 50 back catalog games from Square Enix. In total, this acquisition includes 1,100 employees across 3 studios and 8 global locations. The total purchase price amounts to $300 million, which is like nothing. The company today reiterates its current yada, yada, yada. Deal is expected to close during the second quarter of Embracer's fiscal year, ending in September of this year, September 22. So this is massive, and this to me, I think, paints maybe a way bleaker picture in terms of all this acquisition stuff. So why is Square Enix doing this? Well, you have to look at how Avengers did, and Guardians of the Galaxy underperformed, and Outriders kind of underperformed. Game Pass definitely helped with that game. Their Western division ain't too hot. Their Japanese stuff has been on fire. Even stuff like Triangle Strategy is doing well. Stranger in Paradise, not as much, although in that case, I think that obviously it was made by Koei Tecmo, so Japanese developer. That game was definitely more westernized a little bit, maybe more marketed towards Western audiences. That game, I believe, bombed. Bala and Wonderworld, of course. So not all is well on the Japanese side of Square Enix. However, the Western side, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that has been doing good for them. So it's interesting to see them just being like, can someone just take this mess from us? We don't want this. Interestingly, okay, so Crystal Dynamics did Avengers. That game is a total and utter failure. That game completely failed. They've been trying to save it. I've heard it got better. I didn't really play it. However, commercially and financially, that game was a failure. Eidos made Guardians of the Galaxy, which is actually a really well-received game. That game failed financially. It did not sell enough. I think it just came to Game Pass, which maybe helped it a little bit, but it didn't do as much as it should have, considering it's a Guardians of the Galaxy game. Now, the interesting thing with, I think it's just Crystal Dynamics. Yeah, I think it's just them. Crystal Dynamics is actually helping Xbox. They're helping the Initiative. Yeah, the Initiative, that new studio working on Perfect Dark. That team has been having troubles with Perfect Dark, so Microsoft is contracting Crystal Dynamics to work on Perfect Dark with them. It's a weird situation. this is crazy. Tomb Raider is obviously maybe not the most relevant gaming IP right now. However, Tomb Raider has a legacy. Tomb Raider is probably the biggest IP that Embracer Groups owns now. I can't think of what else. And then, of course, Deus Ex, Thief, Legacy of Kain. I don't think I mentioned that one. This is a scary thing and a good thing, right? It's a scary thing because consolidation is not good. This consolidation of the industry is not good. You will never see me rooting for an acquisition. Ideally, no one gets bought, and all these companies can just, keep doing what they're doing on their own. However, when there's a situation, if it comes down to me saying, okay, who do I want to buy Capcom? If I have to pick, I'm going to pick, in that case, probably Sony, right? If I want someone to buy Platinum, I would probably pick Nintendo. Ideally, I don't want anybody to buy anybody. However, this is pretty good because Embracer, of course, is a third party. This means that, they've been showing great, love for their older IP. They're bringing back SpongeBob games. They did that SpongeBob Rehydrated, and now they're doing the Cosmic Eclipse or something. I forget the game. It's Cosmic something. That new SpongeBob game. They're bringing back Destroy All Humans, and they're bringing back Knights of the Old Republic. So Embracer Group has been doing pretty good bringing back old stuff. This is good if you are a fan of Square Enix's Western games. Tomb Raider was always going to come back. They were always going to make more of those. The Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal Tomb Raider games did pretty well. However, Deus Ex, that game's been dead. That series has been dead. More than likely going to come back now, especially since this is saying they own the back catalog. They own the back catalog of these franchises, which means we can see remasters, we can see collections of Deus Ex, of Tomb Raider on modern platforms, which is awesome. Even on Switch, I would say. I know most of my viewers are Nintendo fans. I would say this probably means we will see all of those games come to Switch now, because Embracer, once again, has been very supportive of Nintendo. Thief, we have, what was that, 2014 we saw the Eidos game from for Thief, the little reboot. I actually enjoyed that game. It wasn't great, but I enjoyed it when it came out. Nice little early PS4 game. We'll probably see Thief come back. Legacy of Kain I've never been into, but I know people like Legacy of Kain. So in terms of seeing these franchises come back, I think this is probably the best case scenario that any of them had, especially Deus Ex and Thief. Tomb Raider was going to come back regardless. However, like I said, consolidation, not a good thing. Now, I want to talk about something because I think this is the most interesting aspect of this. I don't, like I said, I don't want anybody to acquire anybody. However, as a fan of watching game industry news and seeing what's happening and seeing how the tide is turning with Game Pass affecting the market and everything, and of course Microsoft gobbling up a ton of developers and now Sony having to react and then Embracer doing their thing, what does this mean? Why is Square Enix selling this? Well, we already kind of covered that. The Western Division isn't doing good. But here's my thing. Prediction time. I don't think they're just selling their Western divisions. I think someone's buying that Japanese side. I think however they slice out the deal, they're like, all right, okay, let's just say hypothetically Microsoft is buying Square Enix. Maybe they didn't. Okay, that's a bad example. Let's just do the one we're all thinking. Let's just say Sony is buying Square Enix. Maybe Sony doesn't want all that bloat of Crystal Dynamics and Eidos. Guardians of the Galaxy, a good game, but Avengers not. Maybe they don't want Crystal Dynamics. Maybe they don't want to have to feed those people, Maybe they don't want to have to deal with it. Whereas Sony, a Japanese company, wants to work with the Japanese side of Square Enix. Maybe they were just like, okay, we want to acquire you, but we just want to acquire, your Japanese teams. I could totally see that, which is how Embracer maybe came in and swooped up the Western Division for just a mere $300 million. That's very little. I know most of these IP are pretty dead, but Tomb Raider alone has to be worth something, right? Maybe not $300 million, but just by itself, $300 million seems really cheap for what they got here. And it's not like Crystal Dynamics and Eidos are talentless studios. They obviously are very talented. In the case of Avengers, Square Enix just put them on the wrong game. If they made the Tomb Raider reboot, people love the Tomb Raider reboot, right? So I've been rambling. I think I'm going to end it there. Let me know what you guys think of this crazy acquisition. I think there was rumors a few weeks ago about Sony announcing some big acquisition soon. I wouldn't be surprised to see that very soon. I think Embracer said they're going to have more news tomorrow when you're seeing this during their financial meeting for the end of the fiscal year for them. So maybe more news will come out from that. However, I would expect something from Sony soon. I expect a clapback or something. Not a clapback. That's a little bit much. obviously these things can't be reactionary. They've been in the works for, 6 to 12 months to a year, 2 years, so these things take a while to go through process. However, I do think we're due for another big one from Sony, most likely. There was rumors of that. From software, being Square Enix. I would have never expected Square Enix to happen. I thought Capcom would be more in the likely sphere, but yeah, this is crazy news. It's consolidation, man. It's crazy. We are in a weird time as games industry people. I know this is a little bit of a different video if you've been watching all my 3DS and Wii U and Switch stuff. This is what I thrive when. I love games news like this. It's so interesting. It's so exciting to see where the industry is headed. So whenever there's big news like this, I will not fear to step out of my Nintendo circle and talk about it, because I love hearing about this stuff. I love talking about this stuff. So if you enjoyed this video, if you found it informative, of course, you can subscribe for more, usually Nintendo content, but whenever something like this happens, I will pop up. Of course, like the video if you did enjoy it. You can follow me on Twitter at BoTalksMedia, where I tweet out takes, maybe on lesser scale stuff that I don't need to make a whole video on. And I also have a Discord. You can join. The link to that is in the description. Until next time, guys. Bye-bye.